moving on to story number 2, a little PlayStation tidbits for you. Co-CEOs Herman Holst and Hideki Nishino talked to Variety. GameSpot broke out 2 interesting bits. This is Herman talking about layoffs and closures. It's been tough times as of late at Sony Interactive Entertainment as the PlayStation company began the year by cutting 900 plus jobs and canceling games. In July, Sony axed a number of positions from its Destiny studio, Bungie, and announced a reorganization effort there. Then in August, Sony's Firewalk team launched a multiplayer first-person shooter called Concord, only to close it quickly and offer refunds before the studio itself shut down for good after reportedly spending $200 million plus on it. In an interview with Variety, SIE co-CEO Herman Holst reacted to these dramatic moves, saying they all took place as part of the company's effort to run a, quote, sustainable business. I will say a few things on that. It's our duty to look at our resource planning and make sure that we run a sustainable business, he said. That's part of being CEO. We never take that lightly because we know these people personally, and it's very close to our hearts and the teams and good working atmospheres. But yes, we've had some layoffs. Holtz went on to say that the PlayStation Studios division is actually much greater today in terms of employment numbers than it was 5 years ago. It's grown tremendously, and that's organic growth that our existing teams, I think, hired quite aggressively, as well as through mergers and acquisitions, he said. I mean, let's stop there and talk about that for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it so much over and over again as like the year, and even I think, last year and stuff, just like the constant layoffs. And man, like I was not ready for Concord to go as fast as it did, and was really hoping for that like that story of it, that comeback story, when even if it came out as like free to play, layoffs, closures, as a victim of it now, they're never a great thing for whatever reason the business feels like it has to happen. And my heart just goes out to everybody that was affected by it, especially after pouring years into a game like Concord, just to have it all shut down like that afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many bits here to break down and talk about, but then even just talking about the organic growth and all of that, and thinking about the timeline that they're talking about here, of like even saying 5 years ago, it's like there's so many things that have happened in the last 5 years, like obviously the pandemic, but in addition to that, just the landscape of gaming changing so much, and the bets that they took. We talk about it so much of how long the development games takes. So when you're chasing a trend, by the time those things are releasing, and you're releasing alongside 4, 5, 10 other games that are all chasing that same trend, and the trend's kind of passed, what do you do? And I feel like, I mean, the Firewalk situation in particular, I think is something that we are going to be talking about forever. Whenever we're talking about like the legacy of PlayStation, but also just like the trajectory of where it's going to go. Like, there's no way that with the budget that they're talking about, and the not just size of the team that it was, but it being a new PlayStation studio that they were pushing, and that for years, I mean, we've been covering Concord since day one of that company existing, and that company doesn't exist anymore, and that's over years. And to see all the fruits of that labor just go out the window, all of that money just out the window, it's very terrifying, because like them saying it's for a sustainable business, yes, but major swings were made. I don't even want to say major swings. Choices were made that did not cash out at the end of the day, and the result of that is layoffs, closures, and it's very, very terrifying to look at what the future could look like in terms of how do we solve this? How do we get back to it making sense? And I don't know that you can get more as you just keep having your output be less, So
very terrifying especially for Marathon, which is like next in line.
Yeah.
To be on that games as a service slate for Sony. So it, like you said, it's so hazy to see what the future is going to look like. And yeah, we're always going to be talking about Concord, because once Marathon comes out, it's going to be direct comparisons left and right. And, it's 2 weeks out, Marathon is out for 2 weeks, and everybody's just going to be like, oh man, is it going to survive? Like the internet discourse is going to be wild.
I mean, obviously it's rooting for the downfall before it even comes out, just for the narrative, for the tribalism, the fanboys, there's so many different factors at play. But then there also is the other side of it, of the reading the tea leaves and the general conversations being had about like, why are you doing this? Like, where's the audience? Like, these games can work. They just need to be designed in a way that understands the audience and the potential that it has and feed them, come up with a plan for that to work. We've just looked at so many games not be able to do that. So it's a tricky situation, but I hope that they figure this out. I mean, again, we talk about this so much, but canceling The Last of Us multiplayer, like that is so telling. If you can't make The Last of Us, your big IP thing work, it almost feels like you're putting these other things that just straight up out to die, and you weren't willing to do that because you knew what was at stake with the IP of Last of Us. Whereas with Marathon, I mean, it's Bungie. There's that name Bungie, right? But then there's Fair Games. That's the name of it, right? Like, there's more. It's not just Marathon. Like, there's other ones that we need to look at, and they need to be able to survive alongside each other. Like, episode's brought to you by Phasmophobia. The genre-defining horror game is finally out now on consoles. Yes, that's right. The phenomenon that is Phasmophobia has finally entered console early access on PS5, PSVR 2, and Xbox Series X and S, with full cross-play support across all platforms from day one. Join the already almost 20 million players on Steam, including our very own Snowbike Mike, and get ready for some spine-chilling ghost hunting with up to 3 friends. Experience the horror as you investigate immersive haunted locations and gather evidence to help you succeed. With several different ghost types and unique traits, no ghost hunt is ever the same. Making sure you work as a team and utilize your equipment is the key to making it out alive. It's time, Ghost Hunters. Phasmophobia is out now on PS5, PSVR 2, and Xbox Series X and S. Gather your friends and prepare for the terrifying ghost hunts that await. This episode is brought to you by New World Aternum. New World Aternum is a thrilling action RPG experience for console and PC players with a vibrant world, vast and beautiful setting, dynamic real-time action combat, and the freedom for players to choose how to forge their destiny. Combat is skill-based and dynamic, incorporating swords, guns, and sorcery so that you can build one character to rule them all as you explore Aternum and unravel the mysteries of the supernatural island that you can't leave. You love playing RPGs alone? You can in New World Aternum, or play cooperatively with your friends as you complete quests, get better gear, and level up. Greg played this at Summer Game Fest on PlayStation 5 and was caught off guard by how much he enjoyed it and how many hours he said he could see himself sinking into the final product. There's boss fights, cool enemies, crossplay, resource gathering, and crafting. So yeah, this sounds like a Greg game. New World Aternum is available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Next up, PS5's 10-year life cycle. Sony Interactive Entertainment co-CEO Hideaki Nishino has reiterated the company's commitment to both versions of the PS5, as well as a 10-year life cycle for this console generation. While speaking with Variety, Nishino said that he was happy to see that the most engaged gaming users are interested in the PS5 Pro. I wonder where he got that from. And shared his belief that new users will grab the PS5 Pro as well. We design everything with having one ahead in our mind. It's not like we make a next step and we don't know about the 2 next steps ahead. That's not our way of working, because we need to make sure that the 10-year-old generation cycle continues to be going as well. They still believe in generations.
Yeah, it's kind of good to see. Am I weird for not wanting generations to go away?
I don't think you're weird. I think that we just need to kind of wrap our head around what that means. Because I see so much conversation, and I get it. I get where it comes from about this generation, like just talking about Sony, the PS5 generation, feeling like it didn't have the stuff. And not just that it didn't have as many amazing games as PS4 did, but just overall that it didn't. You look at it, it's like, oh, how many PS5 games have even come out? And it's not counting ones that also came out on PS4. And I feel like that's just, while accurate, I don't think it's a real reflection of where we're at. I think just generations and consoles and hardware have changed because they're not the only way to play games. There's so many different ecosystems, whether it's cloud or things like Game Pass or just PC gaming becoming way more mainstream, to play anywhere idea. Mobile becoming able to just do anything. Mobile streaming, like there's just so many options that I feel like the best place to play PlayStation first-party games is on PS5. And I think that the upgrade from a PS4 to a 5 is entirely worth it just for the added benefits that you get that the PS5 offers. Having said that, If you're like the haptics and better like frame rates and all that stuff not worth it to me, then stick with your PS4. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can still get to play the majority of these big games. Like, I feel like it's like a win-win for people. Because like it's not like I'm not getting the games that I'm looking forward to on the PlayStation. But to your point, like there is something exciting about a new generation and what comes with that of seeing the first next gen game and the trailer, then being able to play it and feel for yourself what makes it next gen. I just don't know that we're really going to get that ever again because games just look and feel and sound so good.
Yeah, we are hitting a point where it's starting to flatline a little bit. I think we would have gotten there a little bit faster if like we were console hardware was at the same cadence as like cell phones. Because I've hit the point where like if a new iPhone gets announced, I'm just like, whatever. I'm more of like, when it's a new iOS, when it's a new software update, then I'm really excited. But yeah, I feel like we are starting to flatline a little bit, but like at the same time, when you look at like the hype around Switch 2, it's like I love that that's there. I love that there's this fever brewing and people are, speculating what's it going to look like, how's it going to run? And that just wouldn't be there if it was just every year we got like new Nintendo Switch 2018 edition and 19 edition and all the way up until now. We'd be like, all right, another one's coming out, who cares?
Yeah.
Or maybe not everyone. I feel like, you're Mr. Nintendo, you're Mr. Hardware. I feel like
that's not. I'm like, damn, that if they did that, my wallet would be screwed. But no, I don't want that. But I think you bringing up phones is very apt because like I am the tech guy, so I do love upgrading my phone and all of that. I know I don't need to, and I feel like legitimately, like we're on the iPhone 16 now. Like I feel like once we hit 13, some could argue even before then, but like once we hit 13, it's like, oh, we're good. Like at this point, it's iterative, but the core of the hardware, the level of hardware to be able to do whatever we need the software to do, we hit that. And I feel like we kind of hit that with the PS4 generation, at least in terms of like what games are. Like if games just get bigger and more graphically intense, then they're going to need so much more, and it's just going to be incremental increases and all that. And there's so much technology, I think, on the other end when we talk about things like DLSS and all the stuff that NVIDIA is doing. I think that is kind of the let's use less to make more. That type of thing, I feel like, is more of the future. But all that's doing is making games look the way that we think that they should, running on the hardware. It's not like making them as this like, oh, I can't even imagine what it would look like. So you bringing up the Switch, I feel like the Switch is clearly in need of a boost. Nintendo's not at a point yet that they've hit that level of, oh, we are good enough. I feel like it was for a while, but we are clearly at a point we need that upgrade. Whereas, like, I don't think we need the upgrade on the PlayStation or Xbox side. I just want the upgrade.
Very true.